Good day, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Technical Tuesdays, right? And there's my face. You can see it, right? welcome. For those of you who don't know me, right, and this is the first time you have seen or heard about Technical Tuesdays, I'm your coach Clayton, right? I'm responsible for the weekly analysis, right? And you got it right. My voice do sound different, and I am from South Africa, Cape Town, right? The beautiful city in the world. I have to be biased there. I cannot lie. So thank you for everyone who's tuning in. Just put a 8 in the comments section. I want to see and hear you right through the interface of the screen. Yes, it's gonna be a wonderful, you know, trading session. So shout out to Coach Edward and Chantal over there. I see your comments. It's a pleasure to see you, man. Um, yeah, and just make sure if just make StreamYard use your name because I see eights, but I don't see. I can't just on my side is saying Facebook user. So just allow StreamYard to use your name when you make comments as well. But yes, enough about me. We're here for the charts, right? And I'm excited for this one because um, right now it's a Dixie, right? And if you can just look to my right hand side, we have the Dixie, right? I always say this is the denominator for every week. And then we have GBP USD, Euro USD, the S&P 500, and gold as well. Now, if we have looked at how the market operated, right, we have seen that currencies, gold, the S&P 500 was all red, but the Dixie was green. And this is a wonderful opportunity just to see how the market operates, right? I always say this with if the dollar is going up, if it's going long, if it's going short, it affects the whole market, right? And so that's just the power of the dollar. So if you live in America, you can have that chip on your shoulder, right? But yeah, we're gonna have a wonderful trading. I won't say trading, but guideline of how the markets operate, right? And we have seen before I go into the nitty gritty of things, we can just go to the weekly time frame just for 1 minute, right? And from what we saw uh, last week, right? Last week was forming a base, right? If you can see that, I'll just a little bit zoom in more, a little bit more there, right? We all seen that it formed the base, right? And as well, you can extend the day and the previous week, from last week, before last week, yeah, there was a big green candle, right? So there was a rally, um, and this I can show you over. We just use my arrow just to indicate that as well, right? So this was in a weekly time frame, and we all know, like the students know, one of our core formations is that we have a rally based rally, right? And for those of you who watched last week as well on Technical Tuesdays, I did say, let me just go to a lower time frame again. I did say that, on the chart, most likely it will have a rally based rally, right? However, I took a different stance regarding this week because we had CPI reports come out and also farm payments, right? It also came out as well, and it was consolidating. So my theory was for this week, if you have all seen it, We go on a monthly time frame, and I highlighted this area of demand, right? The our demand zone for our students, and I just say that it was testing in this or testing this demand zone for a couple of times, right? Recorded each month. And if you have to just back test a bit, touch last week, so not last week, but last year, July, May, April, March as well, and then we have February, right? So we have price action testing on a monthly time frame, this area of demand zone. Now, our students know that if we do order enhances, if we do our scorecard, we all know what that means, right? And basically, going to a lower time frame again, I say that when when we see price action, right, of the Dixie dropping, right, and reaching to this area of demand zone, right, um, there's gonna be sort of a little bit of weakness, right, and it also terminated the uptrend as well. So with that being said, on a high time frame, we also, and this is what we teach, across the board of how Coach Edwin, he would teach you how to use the high time frames and lower time frames to your advantage, right? But I also said in the interim, you know, the Dixie is showing also a downtrend, right? As we can see from this particular trend line, right? And with that, price action can was consolidating, and I also say that if it plays within this particular area and touching this resistance or the supply zone, a couple of times, it can break out and reach our next opposing supply zone, right? So we all have it there. That's our next supply zone that we have, right? So from theory, we know that price action is looking for our next opposing supply zone, and most likely that price action will try to reach the supply zone, right? So while we have that insight, this actually what happened. It was 2 o'clock today, South Africa Standard Time, right? Um, Early in the morning, price actions started to shoot up, right? And so that is how the market works. But I can't also explain why that theory happened, because obviously we have paid students for that. But that's obviously for the paid students that we can obviously uh, provide an information, right? So now we know what happened on the Dixie, right? And I just want to see if there's any comments thus far. I see there's a lot of comments, right? Okay, I see. Okay, just put the 11 right in the chat as soon as see who's still with me, so that I can carry on. And if you have any other questions, you're more than welcome to ask me, right? And so here we go. Thank you for that, Teresa. And thank you. I see you. I see Carla as well. Full and Coach Edwin as well. So we all know what happened with the dollar, right? The Dixie, right? And we need to understand, like I always say this, I will say it again, whether the dollar goes long or short, it has an effect on the market, right? And so we will go now to GBP USD, right? And once we hear, we can see that how price action is forming, right? And I also took on a 4 hour time frame. I also took, I highlighted the uptrend, right? And we all know it is also testing for, one and twice as well, right? And we had also a third touch, right? And the third touch actually violated that uptrend. So now where price action is, um, we can draw out our demand zone, right? Cross over here, and there we have it. And now our students also know how to do the audit enhances, right, regarding this demand zone. And once you start to see this, and if price action start to play within this demand zone, there's a most likely that price action will reach our next opposing demand zone, right? So we can also draw this particular demand zone out as well, right? So we all have that in place. So there we have it, right? Um, Although this our price action was consolidating within this particular area, you know, there had to be a breakout and is potentially looking to the downside, right? So that is for GBP USD. But now we correlated to the Euro USD as well. And there we have it as well, right? So I draw out my uptrend just to give me a little bit of framework, right? And there's my uptrend, right? And if you look at where current price came from, right? I also draw the uptrend as well. I call it the whip, and this is how price action formulated. Now, I did say that price action will respect this demand zone, right? But you also see that price action has fell through that. However, now we're facing with a another, scenario, and if you look at break of structure, etc., as only for our students as well, you can see more or less if price action will reach our next opposing demand zone, right? And we can correlate that to the Dixie. And if the Dixie will rise up to the supply zone, right? Um, the supply zone, right? And if we correlate it to the Euro USD, most likely that it will, price action on Euro USD will drop, right? But I don't want to say it, but if we go on a lower time frame, there might be a hidden demand zone over here, right? But that's all Chad was doing. So sorry for that, because I know he's into that, break extraction, everything regarding that as well. But now we have two confirmations, right? GBP USD and Euro USD. They formulated, you know, the opposite of what the Dixie made. But when we go to the S&P 500, right? Um, the students also, I told the students over the weekend that if we go to the higher time frame, right? This in the daily, right? We can see that price action is at the previous high, right? Where supply zone is, and when we go to the lower time frame, like the 4 hour, we can see more or less what will happen, right? So price action can make a double top, right? Or depending on how the market operates, a price action comes back to the supply zone or this resistance and start to play, we can see, right, a new high forming on the S&P 500, right? So just bear that in mind. Have a look at that as well. Um, Personally, I don't like how candle structure is forming regarding this particular area, right? Because of time, right? If this supply zone was strong, price action would have rejected it, and um, break have a break of structure and make lower lows. However, price action is still sitting within that demand zone. So that's just a a information that you can use for your advantage, right? If you trade the S&P 500. Also, lastly, if you go to gold, and this is what happened to gold as well, and although it broke, right, a downtrend, gold is forming back and trying to reach the particular demand zone, right? So just bear that in mind as well. I'm gonna look at the if there's any comments that has came through, because I see a lot of comments, right? So if you get in value, just type in five, number five. Just put in the chat if you get in value out of this, because I'm gonna give you something to chew on, right? And this is actually where gold comes in. We can see how gold is formulated, and I want to explain to you how the TXI might go according to how price action may form, in the future as well. So if you look, as okay, I see the comments coming through. Thank you, everyone. And so I'm gonna see, or I'm gonna tell you now what I'm looking at, right? So first of all, we have seen how price action, right, broke this downtrend on gold, right? And even if you go to a lower time frame, let me just go to 1 hour. Okay, there we go, right? We have seen this uptrend also forming. However, we have seen that gold reached the supply zone and dropped, right? And dropped. However, it reached a supply zone. Now, and let me just say this as well. It also is most likely going to reach this particular demand zone, right? And have a little bit of a retracement. So, number one, we have seen that price action broke this downtrend, right? Reached a significant high. In this case, is a supply zone, and dropped again and reached um, this demand zone once again, right? So broke this downtrend, reached the supply zone, dropped and trying to reach this demand zone, right? Now if we go to the Dixie, and let me just go back to gold once more. If we look at candle structure and market structure together, right? It broke this downtrend, reached a supply zone, right? Played in that area and then dropped again, right? If I just move this across and I go back to the Dixie, right? And I go back to the monthly time frame, right? And upon this theory that if you have think right that this demand zone is strong again, and remember the market likes to figure out I couldn't understand why the market, the DXY still was still having strength, even though I did know actually. Sorry, but at the crucial time of 2 o'clock in the morning, right? It's African Standard Time. Uh, it There was no news, nothing, right? So if you look at this, and if I know how I look, right, I know how I see the market, and I will go back to the lower time frame. Let me just go to 4 hour once more, because now we have seen that. Remember on gold, right? Gold actually. Okay, let me just delete that. Gold actually dropped, or sorry, not dropped, but broke a downtrend, right? Reached a supply zone, right? And you know, doubled top on that as well, but then it fell back to a a strong demand zone as well, right? So if you just look at how kind of structure is forming and market structure, they can paint the picture. So just bear that in mind. This can be a fake out, right? To say that the E strength within the dollar, but it's just trying to find a significant resistance. And we can see in the interim of next week or the week after, we will see perhaps maybe a weakness within the dollar, right? But when we look at gold as well, we can see that same, more or less the same pattern, right? So just bear that in mind regarding your trading. But that's all from me. Um, Before that, if you go to the to Forex Factory, right, and we go to I mean, yes, Thursday. So we go to Thursday, right, where we will have unemployment claims, right? Though this time is in Africa time, but you just have to see more or less what time is that in Central Standard Time, and you can formulate that as well. But tomorrow will form that daily time frame, closing, opening of the body of the candle, and that will indicate more or less what Thursday regarding the news on unemployment claims will do for USD, right, for the dollar. So that's all from me, um, from your coach Clayton, and I hope you enjoy this wonderful um, analysis, right, regarding price action and how it will formulate regarding the coming days, right. So with that, team, if there's no other questions, that's all from me, and I will see you next week same time, right. So God bless everyone. I'll see you. Take care. Bye.